What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Utah Sportsnet Podcast. I am Spencer Durant, also known as Muffin Stump, tonight. Thanks to Sarah and Clint and everybody who participated in that. Anyways, tonight I am joined by the one and only John English, the beard. It's coming off tonight, guys. You're going to want to make sure to stay tuned for that. We also have the green basketball local celebrity Clint Peterson with us tonight. And the now world-famous Alan Jedi Zog.
Show us the jersey.
Yeah,
show us the jersey. Yeah.
Huge
the
shout
new
out
money man.
Huge shout out to Matthew, UK #1 Jazz fan on Twitter, who made that for Alan. It was real nice.
Who is currently somewhere over the Atlantic, not sleeping. He is on his way home now.
Tough to be awake right now.
He and the monkey are happy traveling right now.
Well, that's
the
good.
Media Monkey. There's a great story behind that. There'll be more on that coming. We're going to be doing a story about Matthew and his Utah Jazz travels here coming up real soon. So stay tuned for that at Utah Sportsnet.
Awesome. Well, we wanted to go ahead and talk about, for starters, some of the offensive improvements we've seen from the Jazz lately. Alan had some stuff about this he wanted to talk about because there were some similarities between an article I wrote and an article that Zach Lowe over at Grantland wrote. So, Alan, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you were thinking about those two and the offensive improvements we've seen from the Jazz in the last couple of games?
Well, I'm not a numbers guy, but after reading your article, and then particularly going through Zach Lowe's article today, there were some things that were brought up, especially by Zach Lowe today, about some adjustments that Ty Corbin has been making offensively of late, especially over the last 10 games. Particularly on the offensive end, and I'm trying to quote this. Clint, you've probably read it, so you can probably help me out with this, but he talks about the fact that they've gone away from a lot of the ISO with Al and have kind of run pick and rolls with Mo and Gordon Hayward and Millsap up top, which has opened up a lot of easy buckets for Al, for Favors, for some of the bigs down low when they've run some of those pick and rolls, and it's been really effective.
It had to happen because scouting caught up with the Jazz, and it circulated. It was pretty obvious what the Jazz were going to run, and so Corbin's gone to Hayward in particular to run a lot of the pick and rolls. It's been moderately successful with Favors, and that's a much better role for Favors than sticking Favors out on the Al block over there. I mean, it's you gotta have more than one tool in your shed, obviously, but it was good to see the adjustment come, and the Jazz leaped, as Zach Lowe noted, back up into a top 10 offense from being a bottom 10 offense for several weeks, and that was a good adjustment by Corbin to make.
He attributes that hugely to Corbin and the adjustments that he's made. And Al Jefferson's still getting touches, still getting baskets, but now it's coming via secondary option rather than always to him on that low block. And it opens up the more options for passing and cutters. Before, when you're just going down to the low block, and then the cutter coming through was bringing the double team with them, so it just made it that much more difficult on the Jazz to find a way to score and get buckets. So having guys coming from various directions toward the rim at the same time helps tremendously to open up that offense, the flex offense, where you have a lot more options.
Yep. And that's one thing I've noticed too. One thing I pointed out in my article was the assist-to-turnover ratio for the Jazz. On the season, they were at 1.8, and this last little 5-game stretch before they lost to Denver, they went up to 2.26 assists for every turnover. That's a phenomenal number. And their turnover percentage went down from almost 15 to about 12.5. And so they're maximizing their possessions, and they were getting the most out of their offense, and it just ran a lot smoother because there wasn't as many ISO plays every time on your offense. I noticed, anyways.
With the personnel the Jazz have, that's really key. And then we've seen Marvin Williams come crashing in as a trailer on a lot of those pick and rolls, and cleaning up a lot of the time on them too. So that helps as well.
I think the other thing that's been key, and I'll leave it at this. This is where I'm kind of done with this thought. But Mo Williams, turning point a couple weeks ago, he sits down in that second quarter against Portland up in Portland. His offense has come alive. He's playing much better, and he's playing within the offense. That pick and roll is working well for him, but he's getting a lot of open and easy buckets, and I think that's been key as well in their progression on offense.
It has been. I've noticed that a lot myself. So, John, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, it's almost too bad that last night's game happened, because before that, you had all these great things that they were doing that you could point to, and we kind of saw them they got away from that a little bit last night. When the first couple shots from the guards missed, then Denver's defense was able to just pack it in the middle, and then they were strictly relying on outside shooters, and they never recovered from that.
Yeah, and that's one thing I noticed too. Being at the game last night was just how many outside shots they ended up taking. But, let's move on from that. Let's move on to something a little more controversial, I guess you could say. Why don't we talk about, there's been a recent flux of whether or not we're ever going to see a woman in the NBA. This all started with big man out of Dallas, right?
Tim McMahon tweet where it was very much a joking sounding tweet about the Mavs should draft Griner because they'd be better because they were getting spanked at the time, which sparked a huge amount of backlash immediately when he took a tongue lashing from female fans immediately. So McMahon went on the defensive immediately and tried to defend his tweet and what he'd said and justify it more or less, which didn't go very well. And that was furthered by asking Mark Cuban, "Would you draft Brittany Griner?" To which Cuban said he would. So it's really a hot topic, and it's gotten to the point now where Shane Battier says that he believes we will see a woman in the NBA in our lifetimes. So, will we?
I don't know. Will we? What do you guys think? I just don't think it'll happen. Men are just, this is going to come across really sexist, but whatever. Men are just bigger and stronger. And I just don't think you're going to see a time when women are going to be able to hang with men for 48 minutes during a grind like the NBA game is. That's my personal take on it.
Yeah, we were at the 12th row last night, which was great, and that's the closest I've ever been able to see the game that close. That just kind of solidified to me more that we won't see a woman in the NBA. And you don't have to say men are stronger, but you can say the NBA man. The men who are good enough to play in the NBA, I can't see, the best collegiate woman player being able to hang with him, because it's a very physical game. There's a lot of jockeying for position. There's a lot of pushing, and it's not an average man thing. It's an NBA man. I mean, the athletes in the NBA are some of the best in the world, and so you would have to have a truly exceptional, muscular woman to be able to play in the NBA, and that's why I don't think we're going to see it. I think, I did watch a game just for Griner, and it's fun to watch her, but I try to picture her, she's the same height as Hayward, but she's probably like 80 pounds lighter, and I just see her getting pushed around, and I just don't see it happening.
What about when Kevin Durant couldn't even bench press the bar? He's weak.
That's a completely different story. You're 6'11".
We're talking about 6'8".
Anywhere in the world. All right? Brittany Griner's not 6'11". So
Okay.
There's a lot of smaller players than her in the NBA right now.
yeah, and they're all men.
Let me insert a thought here. I used to take, go to a couple NBA games back in the day, WNBA, sorry, back in the day when the Stars were in town. I am not a big fan of the WNBA, never have been. Do I believe women can play in sports? Absolutely. I've played pickup ball with women, and you know what? They can play. And you know what? I have no problem if they play in the NBA. Bring it. Come play.
What specifically don't you like about the WNBA? It's the same game.
Well, I think some of the same problems I have with it are some of the same problems I have with part of the college game. It's not the fast pace, up and down style, crazy type of environment that the NBA is for me. I have trouble with collegiate level sports for that reason, unless you find a special player. Because for me, it just doesn't have. I don't know what it is. It's just a slower paced game, and maybe not as many exciting plays. That doesn't mean the women can't play. Like I said, I believe they can, and I say let them play.
Is this year's WNBA champ capable of beating this year's March Madness champion?
I actually believe they probably could. I didn't watch the WNBA, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen. I'd say put them up against each other. I bet they could.
I agree with that too. I
do as well.
It's not that I'm against women being in the NBA. If we ever get to that point, all more power to them. It's just I don't think it's ever going to happen. I just don't. I don't see it. It's not in my crystal ball.
Because no one will have the stones to do it. Is that why?
Well, I think it was Kyle Gunther made a good point on his show about Griner specifically and Cuban specifically. Cuban's going to earn himself a lot of free publicity by teasing that. And he might draft her in the second round, and if he doesn't, he'll probably invite her to training camp. And he's going to get a lot of publicity to that and a lot of interest and a lot of stories. And then he'll cut her in the preseason. But up until then, it's going to be a lot of free publicity for the Mavs. So it's smart business-wise for Cuban to at least tease that out there and give hope.
Well, and that brings up a question. Do you think that if it ever happened, it would be more for business than it would be for actual sake of the game? Would it be more of a draw business-wise from the owner's perspective?
Business-wise to invite her, yes. But if she actually surprises them in training camp and is good enough to be the 12th or 13th person on the team, then they'll kind of go, well, we have no choice. And then we're going to have the story of the century and biopics and all that stuff.
Honestly, I think initially it might be a crazy publicity stunt by an owner. I think that's what's sad, though, is that it'll get buried by that. Because I think there are legitimately women who could probably play in the NBA, but because of people like Mark Cuban and others making a publicity stunt out of it, it's the talent level or opportunity that woman has to play in the NBA is going to be lost behind that. That's what's sad.
Okay, I'm going to introduce an entirely different reason why it won't happen. It's purely logistical. Okay? There's 30 arenas in the NBA that are not prepared to house one specific player differently than everyone else. 30 teams in the NBA where you would have to give her you just can't bunk with a female player couldn't bunk with anyone. She's not going in the same showers. You're gonna have to set up every arena in the NBA specifically for one player, and that logistically is not going to happen.
That's a really good point. I've never even thought of it that way.
Can I interject my thought as to why I think it could happen, though? And this can start a whole nother discussion. I don't want to do that. I just want to interject this thought in. There's another subject that's become very interestingly talked about when it comes to sports lately, and that is the inclusion of homosexuals and gays into sports. Okay, if that is a possibility, why isn't a woman playing in the NBA as well? And I'm not saying they're on the same level. I'm just suggesting that it's a different time now. Don't say never. Things happen. Things can happen, and there are ways to make those things happen now.
Well, there are gay players in sports right now. Most of them aren't out, but a gay man is still a man. A woman's a whole different thing.
Like I said, I didn't mean to start a whole discussion. I'm just saying that times are changing, opportunities are coming that have never been there before. It would not surprise me to see the opportunity for a woman to play in the NBA. And I think the initial question is, do we have a problem with it? I don't.
I personally don't have a problem
with it. The thing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but the only way it's going to happen is if an advocacy group sues, because the owners are not going to voluntarily add that. They're not going to dump that much money to accommodate one person specifically. So a lawsuit's the only way it happens. Sorry, Shane Battier, you are incorrect, sir.
And there we go. Shane Battier shot down right here on the USN Podcast. I hope you're watching, Shane. Eat your heart out right now. All right. Unless anybody's got one other thing that they really want to get to about this women in the NBA topic. The only other tiny tidbit I had to add was kind of publicity related. If it ever happens, the publicity surrounding that player is going to be just like Gymmermania and what we had to put up with, And how is somebody going to perform under that kind of pressure at the highest level of basketball in the world? And that's kind of the other thought I had on that. But unless anybody's got anything else they want to add, we can kind of segue into our next little bit. John's going to be shaving his beard here in a minute. You
just compared Jimmer to a woman?
I did.
Wow. Way to go. All of our BYU viewers, all one of them, just tuned out. Way to go.
Yeah, well, they're not important anyways, so.
Oh, wait a minute. Take that back, because that's
kidding,
not right. That's not right.
I'm just kidding, Alan. Calm down. Even though you're a BYU fan, I still love you, all right?
I'm going to mute my microphone. You guys can keep talking.
How long? It's going to take like 30 minutes to shave this thing. You better get started. Yeah. Look at it. Here it goes. Oh, it's going. Oh.
Here we go.
This is ridiculous. It's happening. Hey, okay. John, how long did it take you to grow that?
I said I'm going to mute my microphone. It took me 5 months to do this. This is 5 months worth.
You are a hairy man, John.
Yep.
Spencer, do you even have a Hayward yet?
Hey, I shaved like yesterday morning, all right, Clint? Because
come on here. Dude, the beard's on the bottom, dumbass. The beard's on the bottom.
Hey, he's trying to look like me, and not everybody can pull that off. I'm just saying.
Get your razor there. Go look in the mirror. Wow. Look at it. It's like he's done this before. Whoa. You got to leave a knot like Freaky Boozer Monk guy, dude.
Yes.
No. John's just doing the right thing and making him look good. Bald is good, man. Bald is good.
I gotta get my shades. You guys are out of control over here.
Hey, I can't help this look. That's all I'm saying.
Jeez, look at that thing go.
So, did you want to talk about other things while he's shaving?
Yeah, what do you got? I'm kind of just like entranced by this.
I'm totally hypnotized by this.
I know.
Look at him go.
This is first of all, I can't believe his wife's letting him do this not in the bathroom. So.
Oh wow.
This is something else, man. This is. So, if the Jazz don't make the playoffs, is Corbin out of a job? No, seriously. If there's anything else, oh my goodness.
Oh.
I'm gonna look like a Rob Zombie character.
Dude, that's pretty sweet.
It is.
Yeah, that's a good question. If the Jazz miss the playoffs, does Corbin have a job next year?
Yes.
Does he? You think so?
Yes.
I think he could be on the hot seat.
I don't think so.
I think he'll be on the hot seat, but I do believe he'll still be around.
I think Kevin O'Connor will make him shave his head and his pencil mustache.
Here's a thought, though. What did you guys think of Damari Carroll's comments?
I missed those. What were they?
See the quote?
No.
What did he say?
He said that the fans are a factor in whether or not he stays, but he'll have to make sure that it's the right place, the right situation, and the right coach that believes. I found that last phrase very interesting. The right coach that believes. It tells me that if Ty Corbin keeps his job, I mean, if they go to the playoffs, he's obviously keeping his job. If they miss the playoffs, it becomes more of a question. But if they miss the playoffs and he has players who still aren't happy with him, I mean, I know Damari's the end of the bench now, but I just found that interesting. It seems like every year we'll get 2 or 3 players that come out and they're mad at Corbin. Last year it was C.J. Miles and Raja Bell, where they just weren't happy with the way things were going. And I wonder how everyone's exit interviews are going to affect that if they miss the playoffs, what the players say, and how much that's going to weigh into the front office's decision.
Is Damari Carroll the type of player that could force a front office to fire a coach because he's not playing?
Carroll. No,
so,
no, but at the same time, you gotta. There's weight to what he says too. I think that's just the right coach believes is a big part of that.
A disgruntled player that's not playing is obviously going to say that. So, and earlier this season, well, not necessarily, but earlier this season, there's a precedent of, Carroll having his agent have a talk with Corbin, and then Carroll saw minutes. So,
well, and I think that Carroll deserves the minutes. In all honesty, I really believe that he deserves some rotation minutes every night because the hustle that he brings to the court, the defense, and the energy, it's never a bad thing.
I do too, but are you taking Hayward out? And then Marvin Williams has been playing fantastic. So where do you put him?
That's the problem.
So,
and I think you could start Foy, and instead of having Foy come back off the bench, you could throw Carroll in there with Burks and Hayward, and then have your Cantor and Favors front court. That's just my take on it.
I think the worst thing that happened to Damari Carroll was being put in the starting lineup, because he was just as ineffective as every other small forward up to that point. And, I mean, his production went down, his minutes went off, his plus-minus started to suck again, and he went right from the starting lineup to DMPs.
I tried to warn everyone about that. That starting 3 spot is like the worst starting option within this Jazz system. And that's not on Corbin. It was that way under Sloan as well. Yep. Andre Kirilenko played his worst ball starting at the 3 when he had more important offensive options in front of him. So Andre Kirilenko's best year, his all-star year, was when he started at the power forward. That's just the most difficult position within this Jazz system, and it was that way under Sloan, and it's that way under Corbin, and that's just a product of the system. Yeah. Period.
I'll throw this thought out about Corbin a little bit though. Going back, and this is some things I've been thinking about and going over the last couple of weeks, but going back, I think it was March 15th, the interview with, now that's a sweet cut right there.
You're freaking me out, dude.
Not to trample on you, Alan, but can I ask John a question completely unrelated to sports talk?
Sure.
Yes.
How's your wife taking you cutting your hair and not being in the bathroom? Or somewhere
in my office.
It up.
I have to clean it
up. So I got a tweet from Blue Moon. He says, "I can't tell who's Jedi Zog and who's Germs guy now."
I just got a real interesting tweet as well, kind of related to the women viewers thing we were talking about earlier, from Brady Clark. Brady, if you're watching, what's up? All he said was, all I'm going to say is that can anyone imagine Brittany Griner playing against DeMarcus Cousins?
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Oh, man. Cousins. Oh, boy. Yeah,
anyway.
Cousins might get suspended indefinitely if seriously.
Yeah, he might not be able to keep his muffin stump under control at that point. So.
Whoa! Pulling the muffin stump
you went
out.
there. You went there.
All right, let me go back to my thought here about.
Sorry about that, Alan. Anyways, back to what I was saying.
Ty, there was something that was said. I think it was March 15th on the Big Show with on 1280 with Dennis Lindsay, and he was talking. And if I remember correctly, he said something that I think Clint, you and I have talked about. I think a few others have mentioned along the way, and that is, before we put too much pressure on Ty, Dennis suggested that maybe the front office, and I've actually had a few people suggest this, maybe the front office hasn't put Ty in the best position to necessarily succeed yet either. That maybe he's got what he's got right now, and now it's the front office's job to give him the right pieces and tools to work with and see if he can succeed. And then if he can't, well, then that's a different story.
How many times can you change this team? Okay, fans want change constantly. There's one player left from the end of the 2009 season. 3 seasons later, there's one player left. Who is it?
Millsap.
Oh, Millsap.
That's it. Fans want change every year. You're getting it every year.
Yep.
So, at what point are you gonna, at some point you have to let a group gel and see what they're gonna do. Injuries always gonna play a factor in that. But Ty Corbin's always going to be in a bad position if you keep giving him new tools every year, and then he has to spend the first half of the season figuring out what even works.
And until you can get the same product on the floor for a couple of years on a consecutive basis where he can work with it, how can you really judge or give him a grade necessarily fairly? That's my thought. Just my thought.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that too. We've said on here a lot that Jazz fans, especially a certain group, have been way too critical of Corbin, and that this guy needs a legitimate shot. If they do miss the playoffs, I don't believe he will finish out the year next year. I think that, we might see him dumped after the first bit of the season if it doesn't go as well as the front office would like. But I think he's going to be in the hot seat either way. Even if the Jazz do make the playoffs, he's going to be in the hot seat to show that he can take this group and improve them to a legit 6 to 4 seed contender in the Western Conference.
It's pretty clear that Dennis Lindsay is going to be calling him into the office regardless. So, because Lindsay has said on air that he will be reevaluated at the end of the season. So. And the Jazz are going to do that. That's something they do. At the end, they evaluate everything. They're very systematic
They always have.
About how they do things. They're not knee jerk. They're never knee jerk. So, your tweets about that change every 5 minutes in the game aren't going to have a lot of bearing on the direction that this team goes. So,
couldn't agree with that more. Well, I think that about wraps up what we had on the slate for tonight.
I'm a little disappointed that there's still a beard over there.
I'm also, we're not done yet because we didn't talk about our visitors from the last week either.
That's true. Thank you very much, Alan. I almost forgot them. You were the one hanging out with them quite a bit. You and Clint both got more time with them. Do you guys want to go ahead and give us a recap of what happened?
Well, about a week ago, just a little over a week ago, we had a visitor come from England, and for those of you who didn't hear Spencer introduce at the beginning, that would be UK #1 Jazz fan, Matthew Welch.
That's UKNO1 Jazz fan.
Thank you.
On Twitter.
Thank you. And to give you a little background, the first time I met him was exactly 1 year ago today at Iggy's in downtown Salt Lake, where Clint, you set up a tweet up where we all showed up pregame and had dinner and had a good time, and then went to the game and then came back afterwards. That was the first night I met Matthew, and it started something good. He's a great guy, and he comes out every year, tries to make a week-long trip, at least once a year to come and go to Jazz games and have some fun out here. And he'll meet up with fans out here. Clint, you and he spent a day, yesterday, all day together?
Yeah, this is the second year that we've done this, where we golf and then we go to a game. So that's, so we carried on that tradition. And he always brings an empty suitcase. and fills it with jazz swag for the way home. So this guy gets up could you imagine making your entire schedule, your work, your life, your social life, everything, your school, around jazz games if they were at like 4 in the morning for you? There he is. Matthew Welch, UK #1 jazz fan.
We're giving
Shout
you
out,
some
brother.
love, man. It was great to meet you.
So he's a solid basketball and jazz fan amidst a bunch of cricket and soccer fans that don't really get his obsession and his passion with the game. He's a huge supporter of the Jazz, though. So I was really glad to see the Jazz roll out the red carpet for him, as well as our visitor from Japan, Mizuo, who writes for the NBA's official magazine Hoop Mag over in Japan. He's the one that did the airbrush that's on my there it is. He's the one that did the airbrush that's on my header background on my Twitter. That's at Clintonite33. Thank you, John, very much.
Yeah, Clint was bummed because he couldn't get his Twitter handle up on his little identification bar there.
I'm starving for followers. I have to beat Mrs. NBA to 3,000. You guys know that, right?
Yeah, we know that, but you calling me Muffin Stump all the time, I'm not really inclined to help.
You're not gaining followers from that?
So far I haven't. If I gain followers from this Muffin Stump thing, then you can bet your grandma's bloomers I will help you beat Mrs. NBA. But
if Muffin Stump doesn't work, change it to Cheese Roll.
Why would Cheese Roll work?
Okay, Cheese Wheel.
I should just change it to Hearty Italian Footlong.
A Parmesan breadstick.
We could.
But anyway, Matthew's a great guy. He might not make it out here this next year because he and his gal Sarah are going to be having their first baby, which he guarantees is going to be a Jazz fan. They decided not to find out what it is. They want to wait and be surprised. So a little dilemma of what type of Jazz gear to get. He doesn't know yet, but my goodness, John, that is frightening. That is absolutely
5 months,
horrifying.
Sorry, guys, I got booted off mid-sentence. I don't know what happened. So,
Were you auditioning to play Brigham Young in some LDS church movie or something?
I know, right? Look, you're perfect. You're ready to go, dude. Let's ship him out to Palmyra right now.
Leave the beard, and I'll be Brigham Young.
Did you give the rundown of the monkey, Clint? I got kicked off. Did you give the rundown of the monkey?
No, let's save that for the story. That'll be in the upcoming story, but.
Yeah, so stay tuned to Utah Sportsnet to hear more about Matt Welch's super famous monkey. And Matt even had the stones to ask a very prominent figure in Jazz history to hold said monkey. So that's a big deal. So that's going to be upcoming very soon on UtahSportsnet.com. So.
But along with Matt, did we discuss who else? Did we go into?
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Like I said, I got booted off, so I don't know where I left off. So you guys, I'm back on now.
Yeah.
Well, I try to get. I'm excited that the Jazz are embracing the international fan. I think it's really important. I've always been a huge proponent of NBA International, so it was really good to see the Jazz, roll out the red carpet for these guys this year and treat them right and give them recognition and I think it's really good for a team to be ahead of that. So a lot of teams aren't embracing it. So I'm glad that the Jazz are. So good job, Utah Jazz, Bill Leah. I know you're doing hard work there, Jazz Web Ninja behind the scenes, Bill Leah. So good job, guys.
And I got to give a props to my friend Rich Muirbrook out at Fan Relations to help put a lot of that together too. Good group. Utah Jazz very interested in making sure their fans are taken care of and heard and on all platforms, and they're doing great.
I want to see the Jazz fans have the biggest tweet ups among any team in the NBA.
I think we do.
That's my goal.
I don't know whether we're there yet. I do know I did a check on the hashtag of tweet up today. Very first tweet, very first thing that came up on that hashtag was Jeannie Buss of the Lakers, and apparently they did some sort of a tweet up during that big to-do in Lakerland the other night with Shaq there and everything when they retired his jersey. Apparently there was a big to-do tweet up that night too that she organized. So we gotta keep on pushing it like we have.
Yeah, well, they're Lakers fans. They don't count as real people anyway. So
I'm just saying the tweet up phenomenon is picking up around the NBA, and you know it's obvious when I see stuff like that. You just go do a basic search on hashtags, you'd be surprised at what you find.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna go search muffin stump right now, see what pops up.
no. How about no? I vote no on that. We don't. Make sure your Google Safe Search is on because you might get something popping up.
Oh, look at the look on Clint's face. What'd you already find? Come on, Clint.
No, I think that was Mrs. NBA probably just texted him something. She's been known to do that. Tammy, we love the fact that you watch. I just wanted to throw that out there. We love you. We really do. I don't think there's any way to end this show with dignity tonight.
No, that's about as good a note as you can end on, and I will, yeah.
Well, you know what? Thank you guys for sticking with us through this tonight. It was fun. We hit a new record for viewers tonight, so thanks to everybody that watched us live. And remember, next Thursday, 9:30 Mountain Time, we're going to be here again, so you guys can listen to us. Last time, this is Muffin Stump or Spencer Durant, Clint Peterson, and Alan Zaga. We were joined by John English. He had to bounce. So, anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.